Okay, so about 2 years ago, it was my New Year's resolution to figure out how to book with points. People would always talk about booking with points. We didn't know how to do it, but we knew that we wanted to do it. So I dedicated pretty much the next few months learning as much as I possibly could. And we were able to book our first business class flight that year when we went to Jordan, and we booked business class for Qatar Airways, which was incredible. There are a lot of different ways to book business class with points. I'm going to show you what I believe to be the easiest way and the most consistent way that I've done it in the past. Also, I'm booking business class because Lee and I really want to go to Thailand, and that is an incredibly long flight and travel day, and I just want to book that flight business class because the business class experience on Qatar Airways specifically is incredible. Like the long flights feel too short. Like you don't even want them to end. Now, if you're like a family of 4 and you just want to go to Europe or you just want to go anywhere, these points could be used, to fly economy as well for much cheaper, obviously. Okay. Now, back in the day, or at least when I was first learning, you had your points and your currency and you'd be looking for the flights. The hardest thing at that time, in my opinion, was actually finding the flights and finding the flight deals. Now there are all different types of search engines that will help you find the flights. So just for the sake of this exercise, I'm going to use point.me. I've used points. Yeah, there's all different ones. It kind of just depends on like what interface you like. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to set my filters. So I'm going to fly either out of Fort Lauderdale or Miami. And then from my understanding, the 2 main airports that we're willing to fly into are Bangkok and Chiang Mai. So I'm going to select everything, 2 passengers, business class, and search. Now, these search engines aren't perfect. Like, it'll show you different prices and stuff. The prices don't always end up what's on the site when you actually go to book it, but it still is super helpful to use to see generally what you're looking to spend, what days they're flying there, and then also you can see through here, like, which banks transfer to those airlines. So it's a little, I don't know if I explained that very well, but basically it's like a Google flight search, but using points as the currency. So you can see all the different airlines and their transfer partners. So I know specifically right now, I am looking for either transfer partners for Capital One or Chase, because I have a pretty significant amount of points in both of those, specifically Chase. Okay, so I'm gonna scroll down. I see Capital One here, and this is Qatar Airways. So this is an example of how this site isn't exactly perfect because it shows Amex, Capital One, and then the city thank you points, but it doesn't show Chase. And I know that Chase actually transfers to British Airways, and British Airways and Qatar Airways are in the same family. This is a little confusing, but these 2 airlines specifically work together quite a bit, which we'll kind of go over that in a little bit. But the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to use this little function to figure out what airline I'm going to take. So I've flown Qatar Airways business class before, and it was incredible. So that's what we're going to select. I'm also looking at here, like Qatar Airways, their hub is Doha, Qatar. And they have an incredible lounge there. So I am looking at the layover time. There was one that's like 10 hours. So we could theoretically go out into Qatar if we'd like, or we could spend time at the lounge. So either way, that's kind of like what I'm looking for is total flight time. I don't want any more than 1 stopover. And then, yeah, so whatever works for you in that case, you find which airline you want to fly, that you have transfer partners for. Going back to that, the first thing you need to do in order to book all this is to have points. I would recommend reading some articles on either the Points Guy or NerdWallet and figuring out which credit card is best for you, but you really want to find ones that have a good sign up bonus, because that's when you get a big chunk of points that you can use. It's kind of like their incentive for signing up with their card. Now, using this site, it actually is going to direct me basically right back to Qatar Airways, which is fine, but that's how it's going to work. Is they're going to direct you back to your site, back to whatever airline site that is, and then you kind of have to start from the beginning and put your dates, your filters, and everything that you're looking for in there. Now, when I went onto Qatar Airways, again, Qatar Airways is a part of the One World family that also includes British Airways, American Airlines, and some other people. When I log in, I see I actually already have 120,000 points, which is awesome. I actually know that that's from having my British Airways credit card. So I have a couple different credit cards. That one specifically earns Avios. On that note, when you're talking about points versus miles versus Avios, it's kind of all the same thing. Think of it in terms of like there's US dollars, there's Mexican pesos, there's a euro, and all of it is currency. Okay, so when it says Avios, it just means points. It's all currency that you can use to purchase flights. Another little tip when booking business class, it's a lot easier to book and to find the flights doing one way at a time. One leg in business class is always better than 0 legs. And if you put, let's say this trip, we're gonna have to go to Miami to Doha, Doha to Bangkok, same coming back. That means that you're trying to, if you just search the round trip, it's gonna search for the ability to fly business class on all 4 legs. And if it's not there, then it's gonna filter it out. So I always look at them one way at a time. And again, one way in business class is better than 0 ways in business class. And then you're just going to select this little feature here that says, make sure it's clicked off booking with Avios. That's going to show you your search in Avios currency, which again is just credit card points. It actually said here, like, use this option, this mixed class flexi to book multiple classes. A lot of times when I've seen that, it's been like half of it is business class and the other half is economy, and it's usually a deal. But this ended up being amazing, like a little bit of a reward that we weren't expecting, which I'll get to in a second. But you can see here too, again, the search function was not perfect. These are pretty much a set fee for Avios, and that's going to be $380. Qatar Airways does it for the full group. So that comes out to 190 Avios per person. Now that is a lot, but I do have a chunk from a sign-up bonus that I did. And then also just I've accumulated points from everyday spending. Okay, so I click on this and it's like, hey, you need more Avios. This is an important step because you want to make sure that you find the exact flight that you want first before you transfer your points, because if it ends up not working out, you want to have the flexibility to transfer those to a different airline. So you always want to find your flight before you transfer your points. On that note, the cards that you want to select, you want to make sure you're selecting, I recommend selecting bank cards that have multiple transfer partners like Chase, Sapphire, Capital One, so you have a lot more flexibility. If you have British Airways, you know, you're pretty much only going to get your currency in Avios that you can only use on One World, whereas Chase, I can transfer that to anybody, if that makes sense. Okay, moving on. Now, so now it's saying, hey, you don't have enough points. So now I need to transfer my points from my cards, my bank cards, to Avios in order to use those. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open my app on my phone for Chase Sapphire, and I'm going to navigate to where it says transfer partners. So you don't want to go to book travel. That's what they want you to do. When you do that, they win. So what you're going to do is you're going to find transfer partners. Sometimes it's a little hidden. Like it took me a few minutes to actually find it in the Chase portal. And you're going to scroll down and you're going to see British Airways. So now, again, this is another sort of thing that why that search function isn't perfect. There's a lot of nuances in booking with points, and this is one of them that Qatar Airways, again, and British Airways, they just happen to work together like this. So because we've used this same booking method before, I just remember and know that they work together like this. So when I transfer my Chase points to British Airways, they're going to show both on British Airways and on the Qatar website. So I'm going to go ahead and transfer those. I did need to dip into a couple more points from, I think, my Capital One card in order to make it happen, but I'm basically going to transfer the exact amount of points that I need, because there's no sense in just keeping points there and holding them. You don't need to do that. Don't do that. Once you transfer them, it gives a little notification that says it'll take between 1 and 7 business days. Here, it took probably 15 minutes. In some cases, it was instant. I just hit refresh and all of my points were there. So, okay, so now I'm going to go back to the Qatar Airways site. I'm going to hit refresh and I'm going to see that all of my Avios now are there. So I now have over 380 points. So I have enough in order to book that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back. find the flight again, put in all the information, select that I would like to pay with Avios, and then there's going to be taxes and fees. So that's $577 cash that I'll need to pay. Hi. So now that I have basically the money that I need in my Qatar Airways account to purchase these flights, I'm going to go to checkout, which I ended up putting on my British Airways card so that I could actually accrue points on that purchase as well. So one day look at it as this flight is buying another business class flight potentially in the future. And that's pretty much it. Like now I've booked. And to put it into perspective, so let me look at how much this flight would be. So 380 points, 380,000 points. The dollar value that you would get for that on the Chase Sapphire portal would be about $3,800 worth. So generally speaking, that's a good rule of thumb, is that 1,000 points equals $100. So kind of that amount. So I could have spent, that is a lot of points. I could have spent $3,800 points in my Chase Sapphire account, but by transferring them to Avios and putting them in this other currency and finding this other flight, I'm getting a better value, because this flight, which happened to be, so when I went to select the mixed cabin and I looked at it, the second leg, which is 6 hours and some change, is actually first class, which I was kind of like, I didn't realize that Qatar Airways even had a first class. Like, international business class on a lot of airlines is their first class, but they do, and it looks amazing. So really quickly, I went to the website and poked around, and there's literally a bar and lounge, which is, and we've been to the business class lounge in the Doha airport, and it is incredible. It's amazing. There's so much to do there. It's open in the middle of the night. We were there, and you could order Dexter. While Dexter is serenading us, I'm going to look up really quickly how much the cost of this flight would be. And just looking up really quickly using Google Flight Search, just same exact flight departing out of Miami, laying over in Doha, and then traveling on to Bangkok is over $5,000. And that does not even have the first class second leg as first class. And that's just for one flight. So 2 flights together would have cost us over $10,000. Instead, by transferring our points, we only paid $570 something in cash. And then the rest was all on points. Those points were literally just accumulated from everyday spending. So again, you got the sign up bonus. So if you have a big expense coming up, if you're going to redo your bathroom, or if you have to, if you have a wedding or something going on, get one of these cards, do the sign up bonus, and then you can apply it towards, you can either travel, you could honestly use these and travel for free, or you can do what Lee and I do, and we like to use them to pay for experiences that we would otherwise not be able to afford. So in June, Lee and I are flying business class, then first class to Bangkok, and it is going to be amazing. So if you want to see what that's like, you should probably subscribe so that you get a little notification when we do make and upload that video. And yes, I am aware that we only have a one-way ticket, but that is okay. That is a problem for future us, and we will figure that out. If you have any questions, just let me know, and I'll do my best to answer them. This is the simplest way that I can explain. Good luck. Forgot what I was going to say, though. Something about... So it just, once you transfer... What's wrong? It's okay. Relax. Okay, so... What was I talking about? Shoot. Oh, it is... That basically comes out to... This is the soundtrack to my life. It's just constant barking at all hours. Okay, so... over $5,000. Points were accumulated, literally those points. Dexter, come here. And those points, Okay, and those points were literally those points were literally accumulated. I just want to say one more. I just got like 2 more sentences left. Those points were literally